coffee with my girlfriend's boyfriend today. Because that's how we roll in Taos. So inevitably, as I'm licking my festering wounds left by Cupid's arrow, one of my friends will come up to me and they'll say, "Hey Clint," they'll say, "how do you get involved with these crazy women?" I'll sit them down and I'll say to them, I'll say, "You know, crazy is not a very PC term." And I'll say, okay. And I'll say, "And anyway, you don't know what crazy is." And then I tell them this story. The Sufis have a saying, "Love is a fire." Joan Crawford said, "Love is a fire, but whether it warms your heart or burns down your house, you can never tell." The first time I saw her was at a dilapidated squat on Portland's then and seedy northeast side. She had a shaved head, a tattoo of something I couldn't quite make out that included an anarchy sign, etched there beneath the raven stubble. She was swaying slightly, blurred eyes and an angry look on her face. Now there, I thought to myself, is a girl for me. My friend Mo came out of her narcotic stupor long enough to notice me, noticing the creature across the dim and trash-strewn room. "Better stay away from that one. She's a junk hog." It was hard to understand Mo through her cracked and bleeding mouth, being as it was completely absent of teeth. I looked at her. "What happened to your teeth?" "Left them in some guy's truck. Some bitch paid me $15 for a blowjob and left before I could get them back." "Jesus, Mo." "I'm serious. Stay the fuck away from that girl. She's crazy." You know, Mo, crazy's not a PC term. I praised her lightly. Her left arm was amputated from just above the elbow, a result of a gangrenous infection she'd not bothered to have looked at until it was way past too late. Even then, it was only because she'd been picked up. The day she got out of the hospital, we'd scored together. I think I'll take my chances. I got up and made my way across the room. Mo spat something indistinguishable at me that I didn't bother trying to decipher. Up close, I could see she was young, in the way that only those residents of Neverland can be. Her arms were scarred and bruised, her skin had a clammy yellow tint, and there was no way to describe her countenance as anything other than seething, rageful. This is the woman I chose to bear my children. "What's that say on the side of your head there?" I asked as innocuously as possible. "Chaos." She barely spat the word at me as if it were a challenge. "Oh, because it kind of looks like cross, except with a K." "Fuck you, man. I can't help it if the guy who did it was fucked up." I wasn't trying to be funny, I told her. I just thought that's what it said. She seemed to take me in for a moment, assessing my potential for harm or gain. "So you got any shit or what?" I did. Our immediate plan was to get clean together. A strategy that involved mostly copious amounts of drinking, punctuated by sneaking whatever we could on the side. This made for an uneasy arrangement of constantly trying to maintain a semblance of awareness around the other, and we failed. Again and again. Things came to a head after she inevitably slept with my best friend. I don't think any of us were surprised, but I was pissed. In order to repent, Heather embarked upon a time of amendment I consequently dubbed the Week of 100 Blowjobs. It was simple, really. 5 or 6 or 7 or even 8 times a day, she would take me into her mouth and remain there until I'd completely spent myself. She had told me once before that the difference between lust and love was the difference between spit and swallow. I asked her which was which, but this had all the earmarkings of what I considered true love. Her multitude of oral ministrations may have placated me temporarily, but I still felt a need to balance the scales. You know, in order to really give us a chance. Towards this end, I enlisted the aid of our neighbor, Shari, a dreadlocked woman of 23 who raised sled dogs. Seemingly, there was nothing to connect this person, a seasoned tourer of dead and fish shows, and myself, a leather-clad punk rocker sporting what seemed to be an eternally black eye. Yet, we found a way. I tried to ignore the terrible music she played, the ever-present dogs, and the nauseating scent of patchouli over body odor. For her part, she pretended to ignore the track marks on my arms and the fact that I didn't speak to her. This time, Heather and I were living in a literal one-room shack, just large enough to hold our small stain mattress and what few possessions we'd scavenged. Candles were both light and heat source. It was to this palace d'amour that I one night returned to with Shari, safe in the knowledge that Heather was out of town. Here, collapsed in post-coital bliss and an opiate slumber, was when I awoke to a crashing open of the door, and a lurching figure swaying unsteadily in the frame. "Hi, honey, I'm home." There was something deep and sinister in her voice, something I'd never heard before. And then she attacked. In my half-wakened state, I couldn't be certain that what I was seeing was, in fact, real. Heather had gone not for the throat, as I would have reasonably assumed, but straight for Shari's big toe, where she now sat with her teeth firmly clenched around said midget. Shari, who had been sound asleep, jerked quickly back, blood spewing forth from her affronted appendage like a macabre plasma sprinkler decorating the wood-slat walls with a new and ridiculous art. She bit my fucking toe! Heather now stood uncertainly, her mouth a gruesome crimson at the edges and lower lip. Shari took one look and bolted out the door, stark naked in a perhaps fitting homage to her bohemian leanings. The last thing I saw was her pale ass receding into the night before the door slammed ominously shut, Heather on the outside. I thought perhaps that would be the end of it. Heather so disgusted with the entire scene she'd left. I cautiously made my way to the door, my plan to ease it open a crack and peek clandestinely outside to survey the scene, and found resistance. This being a shed, it locked from the outside with a simple hasp and padlock, which was now firmly in place. The latch allowed about a half-inch gap to open, and it was through this narrow periphery that I witnessed, in horror, the following scene. Heather, her movements spasmodic with drink and rage and God only knew what else, had produced a gas can from near the shed and was now involved in pouring it in a more or less concentrated manner upon the door and nearby walls of our humble home. It may strike you as odd, or worse, sick, but moments like this were what made me really love this girl. I reminisced back to the night I'd been thrown out of a bar for my circuitous root of the room, gladly finishing the drinks of patrons who were involved, dancing to shitty reggae. As the bouncer had thrown me into the street, Heather had kicked him squarely in the nuts. Still not content, she returned with a head-sized rock, the bouncer lifting one arm from his recently violated groin in a gesture of feeble defense, only to witness her heave it through the bar's large plate glass window. Passion. No matter what you had to respect the sheer inherent life in an act like that. And so it was from two minds that I watched my lover, my literal partner in crime, as she choreographed the dance of my destruction. One part of me was fascinated. Would she really go through with it? That same part of me wanted her to. More than once I'd envisioned my own death, and never had it been quite so drenched in romance. Or gasoline. Still, there were other considerations, namely the police. Heather was emitting an unholy wail as she worked, lapsing now and then into a child's sing-song voice, but altogether oblivious or uncaring of the fact that eventually someone was going to hear her and we'd be ruined. We were squatting in the shack illegally. I had at least a half gram of heroin on me, and I couldn't begin to imagine the charges for trying to burn someone alive. That's junkie logic for you. Keep her from burning the shed with you inside, not to save yourself, but to keep from being arrested. And still, I didn't move. By this time, she'd begun attempting to light the gas, matchbook in trembling hand as she fumbled to make a connection between match head and striker, sometimes getting one to flare momentarily before being extinguished in the motion of her hurling it at the door. And then, one lit. In the sudden frame, I could no longer see her face or anything, but I could imagine it. Shock, and perhaps a bit of the accomplished. The heat was welcome, comforting, causing me to feel things in my body I hadn't experienced in years. I might have stayed there were it not for the smoke. Acrid and everywhere, it stung my eyes and burned my lungs, causing my throat to involuntarily constrict. I aimed my bare foot just below the handle of the door and kicked with any last desire I had to save my own life. The door splintered and cracked, and I was able to tear away a large enough piece to remove the padlock, which, while not locked, still sat firmly in place. Heather was across the street, watching the growing inferno and crying. I limped over, favoring my non-splintered foot, and put my arm around her. Come on, we've got to get out of here. I gently led her away from the scene of my dear destruction. She's shuffling in a somewhat catatonic state. Hey, I shook her. Are you okay? She stopped, looked back, did not at me. I'm pregnant.